Long before tea became the world's favorite drink, it was simply a leaf dancing on mountain winds in ancient China. No written records capture that first moment of discovery, yet legends pass down through millennia whisper of a remarkable accident that changed history. Among the mist-shrouded peaks where wild tea trees grew untamed, a curious emperor would soon stumble upon a brew that would awaken the world. Shennong, the divine farmer, ruled with wisdom and a thirst for knowledge that matched his legendary compassion. Dressed in robes the color of forest jade and crowned with bronze, this ancient emperor traveled his realm with a cauldron always at the boil, testing plants to discover their secrets. His long white beard flowed like silk as he wandered through the mountains, cataloging nature's pharmacy for the benefit of his people. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the canopy in shafts of gold, Shennong rested beneath a wild tea tree with his cauldron steaming nearby. A gentle breeze stirred the branches above, sending several bright green leaves spiraling downward in a slow, spinning dance. The leaves landed with a soft hiss in the emperor's boiling water, releasing a fragrance that made the wise ruler pause in wonder. The liquid had transformed into an amber gold elixir that seemed to capture the mountain's mist within its steam. When Shennong raised the cup to his lips, he felt an immediate clarity wash through his mind, as if the fog of fatigue had lifted from his thoughts. The taste was bitter yet sweet, earthy yet fresh, a complexity that hinted at the plant's hidden power to heal and revive. In his medical journals, Shennong recorded how this accidental brew soothed the stomach, sharpened the senses, and drove away the heaviness of sleep. He began to cultivate the glossy-leaved shrubs on the mountain slopes, teaching his physicians to prepare the leaves as medicine for soldiers and scholars alike. Word of the miraculous leaf spread from village to village, carried by travelers who spoke of the emperor's golden drink. Soon, the preparation of tea evolved from mere medicine to something more profound, a ritual of hospitality and spiritual connection. Monks in nearby temples began steeping the leaves during meditation, finding that the brew helped them maintain focus through long hours of prayer. What began as a chance encounter beneath a wild tree had planted the seeds of a tradition that would eventually encircle the globe. Today, every cup of tea still carries echoes of that ancient mountain breeze and the emperor's curious spirit. From Shennong's bronze cauldron to modern porcelain pots, the journey of the leaf continues to unfold. The legend reminds us that sometimes the greatest discoveries arrive not through deliberate search, but through openness to the unexpected gifts of nature. During the Tang dynasty, tea transformed from a bitter tonic into a refined art form, largely thanks to a single orphan raised by Buddhist monks. Lu Yu, known as the Sage of Tea, spent decades wandering China's mist-shrouded mountains to document every aspect of cultivation and preparation in his seminal work, The Classic of Tea. His words turned a simple leaf into a medium for spiritual expression and scholarly pursuit. Before Lu Yu's scrolls reached the imperial libraries, tea remained largely confined to monastery walls, where monks brewed pale liquid to sustain their meditation through long hours of prayer. The discovery that steeping dark, twisted tea leaves created a beverage both stimulating and calming spread rapidly through scholarly circles, carried by traders along dusty mountain passes. Soon, poets and painters began gathering not around wine jars, but beneath bamboo groves with steaming ceramic bowls. By the 9th century, the ceremony of tea had become as important as the drink itself, with precise rituals governing everything from the temperature of mountain spring water to the angle of the pour. Monks taught visiting merchants how whisking the powdered leaves created a frothy emerald surface that mirrored the mist floating above their highland gardens. These techniques traveled southward, transforming quiet contemplation into shared cultural currency. The Song dynasty brought an unprecedented obsession with perfection, as emperors competed with commoners in elaborate tea-tasting contests, judged by the color and persistence of the froth. Artisans fired delicate black-glazed ceramic bowls that showcased the whisked tea's jade-green foam against dark surfaces like snow on volcanic stone. Imperial tribute tea, pressed into intricate cakes and harvested only from designated gardens, became the most coveted currency in the realm. Yet the true revolution occurred not in palace courtyards, but along the bustling canals where wooden stalls began displaying woven baskets overflowing with varieties from distant provinces. Merchants haggled over bricks of compressed tea, while apprentices learned to identify quality by the sheen of the dark, twisted tea leaves and the clarity of the brew. What once required monastic patience now demanded only copper coins and a moment of leisure. Tea houses sprouted between temples and markets like bamboo shoots after rain, offering travelers respite from dusty roads with steaming cups and gossip from distant cities. Here, scholars debated philosophy over bowls of whisk tea, while porters refreshed themselves with simpler infusions before shouldering their loads again. The beverage had transcended class boundaries, becoming the thread that stitched together farmer, merchant, and emperor in a shared daily ritual. As the Song dynasty's influence stretched westward, chests of tea traveled along the Silk Road on the backs of camels, leaving trails of earthy aroma across desert sands. The same dark, twisted tea leaves that once fueled monks' prayers now filled the cups of nomadic chieftains and foreign traders, who marveled at how a simple plant could command such reverence. China's secret had become the world's craving, one steep at a time. By the dynasty's end, the transformation was complete. Tea had evolved from a medicinal curiosity to the very soul of Chinese civilization, brewed in palace kitchens and roadside stalls alike. The pale jade-green ceramic bowls that once graced only monastery tables now sat in every stratum of society, containing not just a beverage, but centuries of accumulated wisdom. This was no longer merely a drink, but a language spoken in steam and leaf, connecting past to present with every pore. Long before it became a global comfort, tea was a precious cargo strapped to the backs of camels and balanced in the packs of monks. Around the 1st century CE, compressed bricks of dark tea began their slow journey westward from China's borders, crossing mountains that seemed to touch the sky. These sturdy blocks, stamped with imperial seals and wrapped in dried bamboo leaves, would transform the drinking habits of 3 continents. Merchants favored tea bricks not for their flavor, but for their remarkable durability during months of grueling travel. Unlike fragile loose leaves, these dense, dark rectangles survived freezing temperatures in the Pamir Mountains and scorching heat in the Gobi Desert without spoiling. Each brick carried the scent of home and the promise of profit, serving as both beverage and currency along the route. By the 8th century, tea had reached the high plateaus of Tibet, where nomads discovered that adding salt and yak butter transformed the dark bricks into a sustaining elixir against the bitter cold. The tea, now crumbled into iron pots over dung fires, became essential to Tibetan survival and spiritual ceremony. In return, the Tibetans traded their spirited horses, creating the legendary tea horse road that paralleled the Silk Route. While heavy bricks traveled west, a different tea tradition took root in Korea during the Goryeo dynasty, where powdered tea arrived as tribute from Chinese emperors. Korean tea masters developed the dawan, or tea garden, cultivating delicate bushes near temple complexes where the preparation became a meditation in itself. Unlike the rugged bricks of the Silk Road, Korean tea emphasized subtle flavors and the harmony between human artistry and nature. Across the East China Sea, Japanese monks returning from Tang dynasty temples carried tea seeds that would revolutionize spiritual practice in their homeland. By the 12th century, Zen Buddhist monk Eisai had written Japan's first tea treatise, declaring that tea was the elixir of the immortals and the foundation of meditation. The Japanese transformed the Chinese preparation method into chanoyu, the tea ceremony, elevating a simple beverage to an art form of precise, mindful movements. For centuries, overland routes dominated tea trade, but the 15th century brought Portuguese explorers sailing around Africa's Cape of Good Hope, seeking direct access to China's treasures. These maritime merchants bypassed the camel caravans entirely, loading ships in Canton with loose green tea and compressed tea bricks alike. The dark, stamped bricks that had survived the Gobi Desert now crossed the Indian Ocean, their aroma mingling with salt spray and tropical winds. When tea finally reached Amsterdam and London in the mid-17th century, Europeans treated the dark leaves as an exotic medicine rather than a daily drink. Apothecaries sold it in porcelain jars alongside remedies for headaches and digestive ailments, while aristocrats sipped from delicate cups without handles. The beverage that had fueled Silk Road traders and sustained Tibetan nomads now became a status symbol in Parisian salons and English drawing rooms. By the 1840s, Anna, the Duchess of Bedford, had revolutionized British social life by introducing afternoon tea, bridging the gap between luncheon and dinner with silver pots and cucumber sandwiches. The dark tea bricks that once bounced on camelback now sat in locked tea caddies in manor houses, while the British East India Company plotted to grow their own tea in India. What began as a simple leaf in Chinese mountains had encircled the globe, adapting to every culture it touched while retaining its power to bring people together. Tea has quenched thirst and stirred souls, but few realize how steeping leaves once shook the foundations of nations. From the frosty docks of Boston to the humid treaty ports of Canton, this humble beverage became both currency and catalyst for the modern world. The story of global change, it turns out, can be traced through the journey of a single leaf. In December 1773, the British Empire learned that taxation and representation made a bitter brew when 342 chests of Darjeeling and Bohea sat in Boston Harbor. Colonists disguised as Mohawk warriors boarded the Dartmouth, Aliner, and Beaver, determined to defy the Tea Act that gave the East India Company unfair advantage. Their message was clear. No price was too high for liberty, not even the fortune in dried leaves sinking into the icy Atlantic. As the sun rose over Griffin's Wharf, the water shimmered with a dark amber stain that would never fully wash away, marking the spot where commerce met conviction. The destroyed cargo represented more than 3 years' wages for the average laborer, yet the Sons of Liberty considered it a small sacrifice against the tyranny of taxation without representation. This defiant act didn't just ruin breakfast, it ignited a revolution that would reshape the Atlantic world. Across the ocean, Britain faced a different crisis, an insatiable thirst for Chinese tea that was draining the royal treasury of silver bullion. By the early 1800s, the British consumed millions of pounds annually, yet the Qing dynasty accepted only precious metal in exchange for their prized leaves, creating a massive trade imbalance that threatened economic collapse. Desperate to reverse the flow of wealth, British merchants turned to a sinister solution grown in the poppy fields of India. The Opium Wars began not with cannons, but with addiction, as British traders exchanged Bengal opium for Chinese silver, then used that silver to buy more tea. When Commissioner Lin Zexu destroyed 20,000 chests of the narcotic in 1839, Britain responded with gunboats, demanding free trade at the barrel of a cannon. The conflict revealed tea's true power. It had become essential enough to justify war, empire, and the unraveling of an ancient civilization's sovereignty. The Treaty of Nanjing in 1842 ended the First War with humiliating terms for China, opening 5 treaty ports and ceding Hong Kong to British control, all to ensure the steady flow of dark amber liquid to London drawing rooms. Steamships soon replaced sailing vessels, carrying not just tea, but the machinery of colonial extraction to new plantations in Assam and Ceylon. The leaf that once grew only in the Middle Kingdom now sprouted across the British Empire, its cultivation rewriting landscapes and lives from Colombo to Kolkata. In the emerald hills of colonial plantations, tea required not just land but labor, drawing thousands into indentured servitude to satisfy European demand. The East India Company transformed entire ecosystems, clearing forests for regimented rows of Camellia sinensis, while accountants in London tracked profits by the pound. This agricultural revolution created a global commodity chain that connected the cup in a Manchester millworker's hand to the monsoon rains falling on South Asian terraces. Meanwhile, in the industrial cities of Europe and America, tea was fueling a different kind of revolution among the working classes. Temperance advocates championed the brew as a moral alternative to gin, while factory owners discovered that tea breaks improved productivity without the dangers of alcohol. The beverage became a democratizing force, available in penny cafes and grand hotels alike, bridging class divides over shared porcelain cups. By the turn of the 20th century, tea had become embedded in the architecture of global commerce, from the London auction houses to the Japanese tea ceremonies adopted by suffragettes seeking spiritual focus. Gandhi would later use the boycott of British tea as a tool of nonviolent resistance, turning the empire's favorite drink against itself. The leaf that had once been a luxury for emperors now carried the weight of political identity, economic survival, and cultural resistance. Today, when we wrap our hands around a warm mug, we hold centuries of revolution, exploitation, and transformation in our palms. The global trade routes, the borders drawn by treaties, and the social fabrics of nations were all shaped by humanity's craving for this ancient infusion. Tea reminds us that history is not just made by generals and kings, but by the everyday choices written in the steam rising from a simple cup. Today, tea travels farther than ever before, connecting remote mountain slopes to bustling city cafes through intricate networks of technology and tradition. Modern plantations stretch across emerald green terraces where GPS-guided drones monitor leaf health alongside experienced hands that still pluck the finest buds. This marriage of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science has transformed how we grow, process, and understand every leaf in your cup. In laboratories from Kyoto to Nairobi, researchers peer through microscopes at the molecular secrets hidden within Camellia sinensis, discovering compounds that may protect hearts, sharpen minds, and calm nerves. Recent studies confirm what monks intuited centuries ago. Theanine and catechins work in elegant harmony to reduce stress while boosting alertness. These findings have sparked a global wellness movement, turning humble tea into one of the most studied beverages on Earth. Biotechnology now allows farmers to cultivate drought-resistant varieties that thrive despite unpredictable rainfall, preserving harvests that might otherwise vanish beneath changing skies. Genetic mapping helps identify the perfect moment for harvest, ensuring maximum flavor and nutritional value without wasting a single leaf. Such innovations arrive not to replace tradition, but to safeguard it for generations yet to sip. Beyond the science lies a human story of equity and dignity, as fair trade cooperatives ensure that the hands harvesting these leaves earn living wages and safe working conditions. Certification labels on modern packaging trace each batch back to specific gardens, where women gatherers now lead cooperatives and children attend school instead of fields. This transparency has reshaped the global marketplace, proving that ethical consumption can drive meaningful change. Yet the industry faces steep challenges, as rising temperatures and erratic monsoons threaten the delicate ecosystems where tea flourishes best. Pesticide runoff and soil depletion have begun to scar some historic plantations, reminding us that abundance carries hidden costs. Climate scientists warn that without intervention, the very geography of tea cultivation may shift within our lifetimes. In response, a quiet revolution unfolds across terraced hillsides, where organic composting replaces chemical fertilizers and solar panels gleam beside traditional drying sheds. Regenerative farming techniques restore biodiversity, planting shade trees that protect delicate bushes while sequestering carbon from the atmosphere. These sustainable practices demonstrate that environmental stewardship and economic viability can steep together in the same pot. Modern consumers have become detectives of provenance, using smartphone apps to trace their morning brew to specific gardens and harvest dates. Specialty shops now feature direct trade relationships that bypass traditional middlemen, ensuring fresher leaves and fairer prices for artisan growers. This connection between cup and origin has transformed tea drinking from passive habit to conscious participation in a global community. As we stand at this intersection of innovation and tradition, the future of tea gleams with possibility. Biodegradable packaging, blockchain traceability, and carbon-neutral shipping methods emerging from collaborative laboratories. Tomorrow's tea industry promises to honor the past while adapting to our planet's needs, ensuring that the simple ritual of brewing leaves remains available to all. The story continues with every sip, inviting us to participate in its next chapter.